Archangel. Lights are everywhere, lights of all colors, in every corner of the great and wonderful city of Duskhaven. The futuristic city that survived. All nations and all cultures found themselves in this city. The year 2234, where the world has turned into ash because of the hunger for power. A nuclear holocaust, a total ruin that left the world to be a wasteland, where nothing thrives and nothing grows. No light, no life. They wrecked themselves over a piece of land or a drop of oil. But the remainers stayed in this city for hundreds of years, survivors from all around the world. A digital globe covers the whole city, and at different times it sparkles in snow and shows the sky like the Christmas day. And at other times it sparkles rain and creates the sound of thunder. Food and water is ready. Necessary supplements are provided in your M1 pills for males and F1 pills for women, which is taken daily. There are no wars, no global warming anymore, and there is only light and beauty. No religion, no politics, and no country. Only a singular megacity. As I told you, there is only light and no darkness. People are free to do as they please. But alas, not in all parts. Some districts do not have the same luxury to enjoy it all, for they are part of the poor district. I told you everything is shining and beautiful, but still, money and currency is essential. What would a human be without money or power? Among the vast colors of this city, where there is no place for shadows and darkness, there is a boy with blue hair and blue eyes, a pale skin and slim stature. Scott, a 17-year-old boy. He is part of an old experiment where children were born out of sterile institutions. Life was not easy on him. He always had a rage within him that could not be explained. Perhaps it is because he has no family. For marriage between men and women had no essential place anymore. In fact, commitment had no meaning anymore. People had special places to relieve their lust and deep desires. Everything is provided easily, and self-control has no meaning. Scott had a sense of not belonging anywhere. He was emotionless, and most of the time, powerless. He was kept within the institution for 10 years, a place where they prepare children to witness a life in Duskhaven. Until he had enough, and after a system failure, he ran away, and without any preparation, he witnessed the magnificent city. But it was too much to bear. He spent a lot of time running from the police and hiding in subway stations, until an old soul found him in the dark alleys, and took a liking to him. Kaito Yamamoto, an old Japanese man who was only but a few people who kept his true culture and tradition, and he kept the torch of his ancestors alive. He knew martial arts, he still possessed the soul of his own traditions, and he was a painter. So in a way, he saw the lost soul of Scott and decided to train him. He mentored him for years and told him the ways of the samurai. He taught him how to fight, to paint, how to love. If you can believe it, he still possessed books with papers, actual papers. Scott's life was changed. He was mesmerized. He experienced things he never thought he could. He was introduced to the old world, and he adored it, the stories of old times. But there was something lacking from this world in comparison to the old, and that was the darkness. There was no darkness anymore, not for him and not for anyone in Duskhaven. The old Japanese man stayed in the poor district of the Duskhaven, and he wanted to stay there for the rest of his life, continuing on to teach Scott. One night, the gang members of that place, who called themselves Zero, decided to confront Scott. They saw him walking in the alley, and they decided to empty his pockets, and perhaps give him a beating for fun, for they were so drunk. And right when Scott wanted to feel the rage and let it thrive within him, the old man presented himself. But alas, in the battle, he lost his life. Scott was all alone. Filled with despair, he had nowhere to go. The old man's house was for him in the last will and testament of Kaito Yamamoto. He gave Scott everything, and he told him to remember the old days and remember the lesson that he taught him about the balance that exists in this world. It might not exist in the external, but you should let it be at bay in the internal. Scott took that to heart, and days, months, and years passed, but he still felt something lacking from him. Still, a void was thriving within him. There is a filth in this city that has sucked the soul out of life. The lack of it is darkness. True shade of life is gone, and people do not even notice it. Something has to change. Desperate and rageful, Scott heard a whisper while he saw a shadow in the alley. "Thy rage is feeding on thee," the darkness spoke, with a pair of glittering blue eyes in the shadows. Scott continued speaking with him, and they had a sort of friendship. It was a sense of calling. Days passed, and Scott was always in conversation with him. He asked the shadow of his name, but received no answer. One night, Scott walked across the city with his long black coat and pair of black leather jeans, and as he contemplated on his mentor's last words, he decided to do something about it. He created a mask depicting the symbol of Namatsu, a giant catfish that in Japanese mythology depicts the cause of earthquakes and movements beneath the earth. That is what he intended to do, an earthquake, a complete and utter demolition of this society. He wore his mentor's black Ronin clothes and put the mask on. With his two katanas on his back, he stared at himself in the mirror and knew right then that he had to make a change. Right then, behind him, the glittering eyes of the shadow showed itself and told him, "Rakesh, that is thy name. It was thought that our time had reached its end, but ye shall show upon them the cause of our being. Archangel." With the utterance of those words, he touched the shoulders of Scott, and the dark smoke started to rise from his shoulders, and Scott's eyes glittered blue beneath the mask. So Scott became a warrior of the shadows and spent his night through the city to unleash hell for the ones following crime, and he became the nightmare of Duskhaven. Dear story lovers, this story was created and voiced by me, Amir Cooper, and produced by my friend, Sam the Owl. We thank you for joining us on this peculiar journey into the story of Archangel. Your time and your support truly mean everything to us. Every one of our stories is crafted with careful imagination and the hope of sparkling a little bit of magic in the hearts of our audience. If you enjoyed Archangel, please let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to share it with your friends and consider buying us a cup of coffee through crypto. We thank you for your generosity, my friends. It fuels the creation of future chapters and keeps these stories alive. Together we will uncover the next chapter with your companionship and our vision. Until then, dare to seek, to be destined to find. We'll see you in the next tale.